Hello, everyone, and welcome to the last AutoTalk Weekly Wrap of the year. This
Morning.
is, yeah, got my usual friend here, Mr. McDonald. How are you there, mate?
Exceptional considering there's like one more day to go in 2022, and I think we're all pretty much counting down to get rid of it and move on into the new one.
Yeah. Are many people coming onto the yard, or is it pretty chill?
It's actually been surprisingly busy, and you always open up this time of the year. You think, is this a good idea or not? Should we all be at the beach having a couple of cold ones instead? But it actually has been quite busy. Not, super traffic busy, but the people coming on, we've actually had some good qualified buyers. So it's definitely been worthwhile opening up, and definitely sales being made. So can't grumble.
Yeah, I guess if you close, the danger is that the people that would buy from you just go down the road. So they're going to buy a car anyway. Might as well be from you.
Well, if you're closed, you're definitely not going to sell any cars, right? It's like that's a guarantee.
The internet is a wonderful thing, but it still can't quite completely do the deal. Now, I see you've got a few little marks on your face, and yep. For people, there is a story to this, and it's a story that's best told, as is so often the case, with a video.
Technology.
Oof!
Oh,
Your
that's
ancestors
almost-
felt that one, buddy.
Oh, it's not clear into next week. That was. Ah. So children, this is what happens when you have a roller door in your workshop. You're closing up at, get this, Christmas Eve of all times, going home to the Christmas Eve presents and Santa and all that sort of stuff. And Dad walks into a roller door. And what had happened was it had brought it up, organising vehicles last part of the day, and the roller door had just crept down like they sometimes do. I didn't notice. I walked clean into it. I was lights out for about 10 seconds and woke up in a pool of blood because head wounds tend to be reasonably bloody.
Did your glasses survive?
They did. They flung, I don't know how far away. But yeah, I came to and my glasses were okay. There's a pool of blood around my head. I'm looking like I've done 16 rounds of Mike Tyson and he's bitten my nose off rather than my ear. But yeah, it really, really, really hurt. And being the good Kiwi male that I am, I did not go to A&E. I did self-triage in the office with like a mountain of wadded up bandage and paper plastered over my face. But boy, it hurt. So don't try this at home.
If I'd had the time, I would have. That's the thing on the internet where they take a clip of that and they time it to, I think like some Gwen Stefani song with a heavy drum line. So it's like the usual bang is the drum line. I think we might have to do that for next week. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Best they've done said. So no, Graham versus Roller Door. Roller Door 1, Graham 0.
Now, Christmas Eve, was there alcohol involved, or were you entirely sober?
Oh, no, I was more than sober on Christmas Eve. I was down for the count. Christmas Day was also a reasonably sedate affair, and I found myself falling asleep more than I probably would given my intake of food. So, no, there was no alcohol involved at all. Sadly, somewhat. Yeah.
I believe that's what they call a head injury, sir.
So if I start not making any less sense than I already don't make sense on the show, I'll blame the head injury.
So it is. It's been a very quiet Christmas this year. Normally, there's a little bit of news floating around, but it's surprisingly quiet. Even in general, I think even in general news this year, I think everyone's gone on holiday. I think everyone's been waiting for a clear summer, and they've all gone. They've all just disappeared. But the plan was this week we're going to go through the top stories of the year. I mean, pretty much chosen by you, and by you I mean the public. These are our top 10 most popular stories of the year. Now, there's some interesting trends in here. There's also some interesting ones where you see the power of a link, of something going viral, someone popping a story up somewhere and it going a little crazy. It's certainly an interesting way to look back and see what is popular, and it may not be necessarily the things that you think. So let's pop up the list with story number 10. We're going to work back from 10 to 1, and then we've got a couple of extras. So
It's usually dealers go bad.
Well, yeah, there's a little bit in there. A little bit in
Yeah.
there. I guess we also just need to clarify too that this is from the website. Our magazine stories are obviously very popular too, but aren't necessarily on at the top on the web because people are reading the magazine, and we can't quite track them in the same way. So this is from AutoTalk.co.nz specifically, not necessarily AutoTalk. So the 10th most popular story of the year was clean car discount fees and rebates released to the public. So this was when we finally learnt what it would cost you to chuck a car on the road next year. Ford Rangers would be basically, and this is if you just pay the tax and don't offset, which I'm sure brands are doing. A Ranger will have a charge of up to $4,657.50. That's for the Raptor, I believe. Oh no, that's for the older 3.2 liter models, which
Is this for the clean car discount scheme?
This is for the standard.
This is for the standard.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Though this was a while ago, so it may have changed by now. Ironically, they're not really selling any more 3.2 Rangers, so it was a bit of a null calculation. Hiluxes range from 1,293 to 4,700. Tritons between 1,078 and 4,082. And the Navara 301 to 3,335. No fees on RAV4.
This is discount. Looking at the fees there, this is discount.
Sorry, it is discount. This is from March. My apologies.
Yeah, March.
This is discount from March. Yeah.
It's crap journalism. This time of the year, it's hard to get good staff, right?
Oh, look, I didn't write the story.
Okay, so here's my take. This is balls up number one from the good people, I'm sorry, at NZTA. Because despite being told time and time and time again, with this scheme, don't release this stuff weeks and weeks and weeks in advance of actually implementing it. Like, bring it all out and have it happen the next day, like we used to do in the old days of the customs rebates and things like that. Because all that happened was the industry went into this 4-week giant crush of people all walking in, wanting to defer purchase of their motor vehicles because they knew there was a rebate coming. And so we, for example, ended up stockpiling 80 bloody Aquas that we had sold, but we couldn't deliver because we couldn't register them. And people making all sorts of weird purchasing decisions. And honestly, it was a month or two of living hell. And if they'd just done what the industry had told them over and over again, release it and implement it at the same time. And so no one's disadvantaged by it because you just released it. So midnight on Thursday, you say, guess what? On tomorrow, by tomorrow 9 o'clock, we released this scheme. You're going to get a rebate on your car. You're going to pay a fee, whatever. Everyone knows it's going on. Instead, we had this 4 or 5 week window of chaos. So thank you, NZTA. Well done.
I guess the other aspect to it too, of course, is pretty much overnight. The price of a Toyota Aqua went up by whatever the subsidy was.
Yeah, it did. It did. And all of a sudden, the price of used Aquas coming back in as trade-ins went down by the value of the subsidy too, ironically too. But yeah, it was a mess. It's a real mess. It's all ironed out now, but it just didn't need to be the mess that it was. If people had just thought through the process and listened.
Now, next up on the run is, as you were hoping, Graham, a dealer being naughty. Used car dealer caught selling a second clocked Jaguar. So not the first clocked Jaguar he sold, the second clocked Jaguar he sold. And the Motor Vehicle Disputes Tribunal has found that an Auckland used car dealer was once again breached the 1986 Fair Trading Act by misrepresenting the odometer reading of a Jaguar vehicle which was imported from Singapore. Motor trader Jamal Nasser of 7Cs Motors was ordered by the tribunal to pay $2,647 to... Anyway, he got caught again.
Got pinged. Yep.
So, now, the interesting thing behind this, and there's more stories around this, and I'll expand on it a little bit, is that what this guy did and the mistake he made was that the first person he sold a clock Jaguar to, the first person who worked out had been sold a clock Jaguar was a bit of a nerd in the nicest way possible, in that he got really angry and he went researching. And he started finding other cars this guy had clocked, and he started contacting those people. And this second case was a result of the first guy going out hunting things. So A, you shouldn't do this, but B, when you do get caught or you do something dumb, sort it out properly. Because otherwise, in this day and age with social media and the internet, people will keep going for you. And this one had a bit of an say. Now, interestingly, and I suspect this is more the public than it is dealers, there's clearly still a lot of discussion, a lot of people verifying whether they should be trusting Singaporean imports or not. Because one of our top 10 for the year, of the year, though I've subtracted it from this list because it wasn't one of the top stories of 2022, was this story here, Red Flag on Singapore imports. And that was from a magazine in December 2017, or 2016.
Yeah.
2017, sorry. Concerns about the quality of used cars bought in the country from Singapore don't come as any surprise to the Imported Motor Vehicle Industry Association. So long ago, it was still that name. So we were talking about issues around the odometers back then and the quality of the vehicles. And that car was, I think, number 6 to number 7 this year. So people are still probably hunting online for information to verify whether they should be considering buying a used Singaporean import. It is, there are some very good cars out of Singapore. There are some very bad cars out of Singapore. It's certainly an interesting market.
Yeah.
Do you mess with anything out of there, Graham?
No, and you know what? Categorically no. And I don't want to put off people. I think you said it correctly. There are probably some very good cars coming out of Singapore. I'm sure there are, and there's some good dealers doing good deals with good vehicles. But you know what? The risk factors, like Russian roulette with 3 bullets in the chamber, 50-50 odds, and I haven't heard great stories. And that article back in 2016, I remember talking about it at VIA around the board table about whether we would actually put out a public release about our concerns around Singaporean imports. And it gives you an idea of the scope of the issue. We made a decision as an executive that the wider industry actually needed to be alerted to it. And you know what? Guess what? Nothing's changed. It's just, it's attractive, and I've said it before. It's shit people buying shit cars and thinking they can get away with it somehow. You know, it's 2022, 23 people. Surely we're over that sort of crap now, but clearly not. There's still a few out there.
Yep, exactly.
Zero sympathy.
Now, this next story, we kind of went when it came out, and it was from a bit of release, but for some reason the story picked up a lot of traction, and that was this one: cars to cost thousands more because of the Clean Car Standard. And this was actually a statement that was released by Wal Dumper from Subaru New Zealand. In a statement issued about the Subaru's updated Outback 2.4T, Dumper said he expected the model to be lumped with additional costs when the next wave of Clean Car Standards changes applied before January 1. CCS not only affects Subaru but the entire New Zealand automotive industry, and the reality is that come 2023, many new petrol cars, engine cars, may cost customers thousands more than they do today. This was fairly early in the piece. I think it was interesting that they kind of pushed out quite broadly with that opinion. It was pretty obvious, but I think sometimes people kind of want to wait until someone from one of the established brands says something. But yeah, clearly that is what is going to happen. Yes. Now, guess what kind of story is next, Graham?
A bad dealer.
Not a bad dealer, a naughty dealer. Well, a dealer who did something that didn't quite work out. Hamilton EV dealer to pay mislead customers $24,000. A plug-in vehicle specialist dealership in Hamilton has been ordered by the Motor Vehicle Disputes Tribunal to pay a customer $24,000 after engaging in misleading conduct. Hamilton Electric Vehicles Limited sold a 2016 Nissan ENV200 electric van to a customer. The tribunal documents state that Bulmer believed the dealer misrepresented both the vehicle's battery state of health, the size of the clean car discount rebate he would receive with the vehicle's purchase, and the capability of the vehicle's charging cable, and the size of the warranty. The Nissan was advertised with a state of health of 82%. Bulmer was able to produce evidence that the state of health was 79% when it was listed for sale. This reading came via his use of the Lease Spy app, which Hamilton Electric Vehicles contends is not a reliable indicator. So this one is an interesting one, and if you actually look back through our archives, we've got several stories from a few years back from the Motor Vehicles Disputes Tribunal, where the tribunal actually recommends that dealers do not quote those state of health indicators. There are independent services that can do it for the customer if they wish to get it, but just it's Yeah, something to avoid. Mis-selling on EVs is so broad. I think needs to be more training and development in that area. People know I have a particular passion for EVs, yeah, hopefully people will learn a bit more as we go in the next bit and stop
I
saying
think,
silly things.
yeah, I think you're right. And I feel sorry for the dealer in this case over the SOH reading, because we do know there are variables, and there's variables in both the testing and also the vehicle's condition when it's purchased in Japan, when it's exported, when it arrives. Variables between the climate conditions, whether it's freezing cold in Japan at the time or a hot summer and it's tested. So we know there's variables, and I feel sorry for them in this case here. But then it comes down to the processes themselves that you use as a dealer when marketing. If you're going to market an SOH reading, as to at what point in time you actually address that. The other issues about, I recall the story representing the size of the clean car discount. Well, yeah, not so much sympathy on that one. If I recall, there were quite a few little red flags that just proper process hadn't been followed in a number of different areas. And maybe, if nothing else in this one, it was a learning curve for what may well be a good dealer who has been, shall we say, led astray by, at the time, poor practice.
Yeah. It sounds like they were just rough, and that they said they would receive a $4,000 rebate when it was actually $3,450. You can't round up.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I know, and it is
can't go,
tempting
yeah, but if you buy it, you get about a 4K rebate back. Yeah, sure, you might actually not get it far off the mark, but until you get to the tribunal.
No.
Yeah.
Case closed, blood. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Bang.
Exactly. Now, let's click on to the next one. The next story. And I'm not sure what we've got coming up here. Let's have a look. This one's a nice one. And probably more someone's linked this somewhere to take up the ranks. It's not really a dealer story. And that's confirmed. Great Wall, Aura and Tank brands coming to New Zealand. It's been confirmed that New Zealand is set to gain 2 new Chinese vehicle brands, each being a subsidiary of Great Wall Motors. Head of Great Wall Motors and Haval, Todd Groves, who is now off to Jeep, ironically, after preparing to launch a Jeep clone in New Zealand, the brand's going to join the local market either at the end of 2022 or the beginning of 2023. It'll be the beginning of 2023. I can confirm Aura is definitely coming to New Zealand under the Great Wall umbrella, along with our Tank brand and products also. So a couple of things here. The Great Wall Aura Good Cat. I've driven it. It's a cool little car. I don't think it's going to be that particularly cheap, but it is a funky little, quite really high quality feeling electric car. The Tank 300 is a really interesting one too, and that is on a passenger car platform, but that's got 3 locking diffs. So that's going to have some serious off-road cred. Like, that's kind of a similar format to the older before they became basically a Fiat Jeep Cherokees. Decent ground clearance, 3 locking diffs, low range, and a cool little package. And I actually think that has a little bit of a look to it of some of the communist era Chinese Jeeps in China.
Right.
I think it looks cool. I think that car looks cool. But the interesting thing is that they're going to take that brand all the way up to like a 500 or whatever it is, which is a Land Cruiser 300-ish vehicle with a twin-turbo 3-litre petrol hybrid. So definitely some interesting products coming out from our friends in China. So yeah.
But I hope there remain our friends, and if that's the case.
What do you like the look of that tank, Graham?
I can't remember it, Richard. We did look at it, and I haven't seen images of it quite some time to make
be able to see it on the screen. Oh no, I haven't edited the stream.
No,
there it is.
You haven't.
Sorry. There you go. You can see it now.
Oh, okay. Yep. Well, it's a Jeep.
That's pretty funky.
It's a Jeep.
Yeah.
It is a Jeep. And we've said that, and that looks like a smaller, compressed version of a Cayenne on the background there too. I hope they do well. I think New Zealand is becoming a very, very crowded place with all these new marques coming on through. And I kind of hope there's enough room for everybody, but I suspect there might be a bit of bloodletting too. And that, because it just isn't, there isn't enough retail space, I think, in the marketplace for all these emerging brands to compete on the stage with all the existing brands. because you've only got a finite number of buyers in New Zealand, and there's going to be some blood spilt on the floor, not from your head, incidentally, over the coming year or two, I think, because we're not making new buyers out of thin air.
No. So they've priced it. It's got an ANCAP 5-star already, and I think they've priced it in Australia at sub $60,000 for a 2-litre turbo hybrid, 4-wheel drive. So yeah, that's pretty cool vehicle.
If it's any good, like the 4-wheel drive guys in New Zealand, like they are hard men and women. If it's any good, they'll find out, and if it's not, we will know within 15 minutes, as they will pummel the crap out of it to find out.
Exactly. Now, our next story, another nice little one. Turners wins marketing gong with Tina from Turners Ads. Turners Automotive Group has emerged as a big winner at the New Zealand Marketing Awards. The group claimed both the Supreme Award in Excellence in Brand Transformation Strategy Award, as well as the Excellence in Consumer Products and Services Strategy Award. In scooping the grand prize, Turners edged out the likes of Trade Me, Jaguar, Mitre 10 in New Zealand, ASP New Zealand Post, and more. It is great to see quality strategy and creative winning the hearts of judges and the New Zealand public alike with the lovable Tina from Turners category. I maybe on the outside here, I really like the Tina from Turners Ads. I think they're pretty cool. I think they're funny. I think they're not. They know that they're cheesy and they embrace it. And I think Turners has done incredibly well in taking what is a fairly large corporate, but kind of whittling it down to show it's supposedly, whether it is or not, people who like cars. I'm not sure if this will play.
We haven't got her cheeky voice.
Yeah.
Here they are. We've got the graphics. That'll do. I'm going to say, look, good. We compete in the same space. This was all dealers. I mean, we compete with Turners, so it's sort of. I'll give them as a competitor. I'll say, look, I'd like first of all Turners' marketing budget to produce such content. That'd be very nice. But it's been spent well. Their creatives, ad agency they've engaged, I think, have pitched a really good campaign, and that's obviously worked really well for Turners too. And well done. Like you said, it's a little bit unusual to an extent for a large corporate, as Turners are, to be not as risky, I suppose, but just be a little bit cheeky about how they market themselves and their products. I have to say, some little sneaky visits I've had to Turners sites in the last year or so, not that I would do such a thing, but if I did, people I know would suggest that not all their staff are perhaps as verbose or as helpful as Tina might be. There's a top tip for you, Turners. People I know. But yeah, certainly as a window, it's a good one.
Yeah. I actually bought a car from Turners this year, and it was, I've got to be honest, it was probably the least stressful car buying experience I've ever had. They have fine-tuned their systems a lot, and as far as the art of low-pressure sales goes, I think they've got it reasonably right, but yeah, I think that depends on who you're speaking to on the day. And it's always hard for me in the industry because you can never tell whether people know who I am or don't know who I am. So,
because they were just so grateful to sell you that thing, Richard. They're like, finally, someone's here for the Mirage. Quick, push it out.
that Mirage has a nickname. It is the Mirari.
Yeah, I've heard. Well done, you. Go, Richard.
Exactly. Now, what kind of story is next, Graham?
Dealer being naughty, Richard?
Very naughty this time.
Very naughty. Okay, we're going up in the ranks. Naughtiness.
Dealer in hot water after selling Hilux with serious damage. The botched repair and sale of a 2018 Toyota Hilux has resulted in a Hamilton dealer being taken to the Motor Vehicles Disputes Tribunal with the dealer forced to pay a significant repair bill. The Hilux was sold by Airline Group to the customer, Dynamic Interiors, for almost $45,000. Shortly after the sale, the customer realised the vehicle had a rubbing front tyre. This prompted a visit to the local mechanic, who confirmed that the Hilux had been in a serious accident. The customer ended up receiving contact from a Wakatahi NZ Transport Agency investigator who was in the process of chasing up the Hilux to see whether it had been properly repaired. Yeah. So again, this dealer's done multiple stuff. They are no longer in business. I believe the car was stuffed. There's another one earlier in the year, a 2019 Ford Ranger.
That was the worst part about that story, if you recall, was not just that this had happened, but that it wasn't the first time it had happened with a particular dealer either. There was a clear pathway there. Look, people like that, I'm sorry for listening right now. Don't come around to my house if I do, but they deserve to be kicked out, run out of town on the nearest posse. We don't want you in the business. Bugger off. Do something else. Sell fish. I don't know. I don't care. Get out of the industry. You're not welcome here. Bugger off.
Yep, exactly. Well, hopefully they are out of the industry, whether it's permanent or not, because these people have a habit of coming back. So
yeah, they do. Yes.
Yeah. Probably one of the biggest overall stories of the year, though. Though obviously it comes in little chunks. So works from that. Breakdown of trust. 2 Cheap Cars mass resignations confirmed. From July. A statement published on the NZX has confirmed that all non-executive board members and a co-founder at New Zealand Automotive Investments have resigned. Basically, this was the beginning of the falling apart of the management at 2 Cheap Cars. Eugene Williams stepped down, along with a few other independent directors. We essentially have seen a group of people at the behest of fellow co-owner David Sina come in and take over 2 Cheap Cars, or NZR 2 Cheap Cars. We have a new CEO coming in. Again, someone in industry, for the love of God, just hire a dealer to run the dealership.
Yeah.
And it's not just me. After that last time, after I went on that rant on with a podcast and we were discussing this, I had multiple people come to me and go, "You're right. What the heck are they doing?"
It was a very public thermonuclear meltdown of a very recognised brand in the industry. And look, as we all love to watch people go through a bit of pain here and there. It's our human nature as dealers, I'm sure. And it was a very public spat between mum and dad and the kids, and a big divorce settlement, and lots of lawyers involved, if you look at it that way. So out of all that, let's hope that this has been the rise of the new 2 Cheap, because I think what we're seeing is effectively a new 2 Cheap Cars model, effectively altogether. New direction, new people, new team. And maybe it was sorely needed, because the old model clearly wasn't working in a number of different areas. But you're right, from an outsider's perspective, because we would know nothing about this sort of thing being dealers, but it strikes me that there probably still are some areas of expertise that the organisation would do well to seek if it really wants to be a stable player into the future. It's a bit of a parable to this. I was reading just last night with the story of Southwest Airlines in America about I don't know if you read this sort of stuff, but Southwest had a complete and total meltdown during the ice storms in Buffalo over Christmas. Okay, like just their system collapsed. And they've sort of seeded it back to just a series of a brilliant chief executive, 15 years or so ago, who led the airline to one of the top echelons of American domestic carriers, who knew his people, he knew the industry, he knew everything about it, and then replaced by the series of chief executives who knew nothing at all about running airlines. They were good chief executives if you made boxes or you ran a garden centre, but they knew nothing about airlines. And there was this progressive and steady decline of the very core fundamentals an airline needed to operate. And you could get away with it 9 times out of 10. But when you had an event of the size of the Buffalo ice storms, paralyzed the whole sort of northeast of America, it wasn't that people were asleep at the wheel. You just didn't have the expertise the airline needed to help it survive that. And I hope that 2 Cheap Cars is in a position to withstand the 2023 potential economic storm by having people that understand the core stuff, the bits at the bottom that make that operation work from the bottom up.
Yeah. No, exactly. So we'll see. I guess we'll see where they go with all that. Hopefully they succeed. There's a lot of people who work there. We don't want them to go away.
No, that's right.
Speaking of going away, it's interesting that if you look at maybe a former director of 2 Cheap Cars and they are maybe helping out with a dealership that maybe has a very similar name to that one. We'll see.
Well, you need some more headlines for next year, Richard.
Exactly. Oh, I've got plenty of those.
Yeah.
Including some dodgy dealers. Now,
bet you have.
Second to top story of the year, scrappage proposed, $569 million cost for clean car upgrade. The government has proposed a massive scrappage scheme in a bid to get older vehicles off the road in favour of new electrified vehicles. The announcement came today as part of the release of the long-awaited emissions reduction policy. AutoTalk published rumours of the plan, you heard it first with AutoTalk, in its last magazine, which have proven largely correct. The project will start with a trial of 2,500 vehicles, though how much the owners will get for scrapping them is yet to be confirmed. It will be funded through the emissions trading scheme rather than through general taxes or the current clean car scheme pool. So this is an idea for the future. I suspect it's a wee way off, but something they are certainly looking at doing. I suspect the reason why we had such good numbers on that is that, we were first to it. And dealers love the sniff of a dollar going, don't they? There's some free money for us.
Well, I don't know. I'm actually, I'll put my nail on this one and say I'm actually morally opposed to a scrappage scheme. Ironically, given that a business like ours, we could actually benefit, I think, from aspects of it, depending on where the parameters are set, whether it favours new over used, because we don't deal really in EVs, for example, but we're hybrid based, whether that includes us or whether it doesn't. I don't know. Let's work out the details. But morally, I'm not in favour of a scrappage scheme for a number of reasons that are too long to go into here. But I just don't think it actually serves the greater good of the people. I think it serves financial and political gain, but it doesn't actually help the people on the ground who you, at the end of the day, want to be helping. And I've seen no evidence to the contrary to that.
Well, you need to run for Parliament and stop it, Graham.
Now, there's a thought, Richard.
Now, the top story for the year. What kind of story is it, Graham?
Drum roll.
What kind of story is it, Graham?
Don't tell me. A trader has been slightly not quite truthful in a statement that the customer may have misinterpreted. Richard, is that what I hear?
No, it's a positive dealer story. Our number one story for the year is a positive dealer story. And it's an Auckland car dealer to auction $750,000 of classics with no reserve.
Yes, I remember this.
Auckland-based car dealership Sunday Drivers they were set to host. This was back in May. A unique set of classic car and bike barn finds, all with no reserve. The auction was through Auckland dealership Sunday Drive, a really interesting dealership, actually almost worth a visit if you're in the area. They do everything from pretty run-of-the-mill cars right up through some amazing high-end stuff and classics as well. It was being sold on consignment. Vehicles included a 1935 Ford V8 Coupe, a 1967 Mustang with original mileage, something's gone wrong there. Anyway, a few Jags, some motorbikes, Peugeot CTI Cabrio. I actually had a look at that. I thought that might have been a bit of a fun car. Chrysler LeBaron. Also thought that could have been a fun wee.
It was a Mark Cross edition, I think, wasn't it? It was two LeBarons.
It was a convertible, so it was a late 80s or early 90s or something like that. Probably like a Mitsubishi Galant platform underneath or something like that, but yeah.
I tried to buy one of those in America when I lived there. I was trying to hunt one of those down because they were a cheap, easy convertible, but surprisingly difficult to obtain. But I think it was the Mark Cross edition, which is kind of all the worst excess of America at the time put into an 80s model vehicle that wasn't very good to start with. This was either a dealer or a resident who was returning back to America and wasn't taking his collection with him. Is that right?
Yes, I think so.
That was the case.
A Cadillac Alante, which I think that's a really interesting car, isn't it? 'Cause was the body built in America and then it was flown to Italy to have like certain bits fitted, and then it was flown back to or shipped back to America or some weird thing.
Maserati underpinnings, is that right? Maserati underpinnings, I think. Is that right?
I think so, yeah. Something like that.
Interesting cars. And the collection made just squiddoodles of money too. I think the good stuff made really, really good money. Well above reserve. But I also recall there was some stuff that surprisingly didn't do as well as you might think. So it goes to show that even the classic market is still subject to some degree of fluctuation, shall we say.
Yes. So that's there. So that Sunday Drive was about the time that they'd moved to the old Auckland City Toyota facility in Mount Wellington, because Auckland City Toyota moved up the hill to the old Fleet Partners one. So really suggest popping in to see those guys. They have some interesting stuff there, and hopefully we see some more interesting things like this before. Really, really cool story, and I'm really glad that was the top story of the year. I'm glad it wasn't some dodgy dealer. I'm glad it was a dealer doing something cool, something interesting with cars, and highly like that. Yeah,
it is good because we say it time and time again, Richard. 99% of maybe 98% of the street is populated by really good people doing really good things and need to be celebrated, because we rate slightly lower than prostitutes and slightly higher than politicians, when in actual fact I think we're a good bunch of people, and we have our customers and our customers' interests at the hearts of what we do, and we need to celebrate sometimes. Or actually, it's a good trade to be in. If you're a good person, it's a good business to be in. Well done us.
Exactly. So that's the top 10 stories of the year. The top magazine of the year online, look, we can't track how many people read what thing, was interestingly the July issue, which has David Vincent on the cover. So David, you can feel very pleased there that you were on the cover in that issue. I think a lot of that was down to the fact we had a lot of detail on the clean car program coming through. We also had tributes to former South Island dealer Graham Marsh, who, of course, was one of the owners for a very long time of Cook Howlinson and the Oakwood Group. And, of course, we were starting to get the launch of BYD then that was making big news. Mark Stockdale from the MIA having a good crack at the government. A few other things in that one. So that was the top one of the year. What's your highlight of 2022, Graham, from the trade?
Cool. Getting through clean car, actually. I think resilience through clean car. I've never had a year where there's been so much regulation shoved upon us that's been so badly written and badly implemented that the industry has overcome. And at times, we just didn't know which way we were going to head. You got no idea what you're actually facing and how you're going to deal with it, but we did collectively as a trade. And I think we sort of deserve a bit of celebration for that one. That despite what would seem to be government's best efforts to stamp upon us, and I know that's being a little bit dramatic about it, but that's how it felt at times. That we got our way through it, and I think also just that crazy period. Look, we were all in it. April, May, when you had the first of the clean car discounts being applied, at the same time as the price of fuel skyrocketed. If you were selling fuel-efficient vehicles, there were crazy times. And Glenn and I sometimes sort of sit back on our rocker chairs in the porch, so to speak, reflect upon those madcap months. We were doing 12, 13, 14-hour days, sometimes a bit longer than that. We're going home absolutely wrecked just to get up the next morning, come in early, get things organised, and people were pouring in the doors just saying, please, can you sell us that car over there? Can we buy that one, please? If he hasn't bought it already and they haven't bought it, can we be next in line? Which ones can we buy? And it was just crazy times. I wish the industry was like that all the time, and we know it's not, but that was probably a highlight. It was actually a lot of fun. It was exhausting, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. For me, it has to be AutoTalk Live. I mean, it was so good to get that off the ground. It was so much fun. Yeah. It was very tiring. But yeah, more to come. And I think that's just the new era of AutoTalk. I think, we've set the mark there as to what we're going to be 2023 going forward. We need to go beyond now just being, I'm not saying just, but you can't just be an industry title anymore. You've got to be broader than that. There's so much competition out there and so much need, I think, for the industry to think smarter, and I think that we can kind of lead in that space, or at least that's our plan to, and hopefully make a buck out of it in the process. Are you imbibing a cold one for New Year's? You're shutting up shop at all? You're staying open right through? What's the plan there?
We're going to shut on New Year's Day, I think, and the day after. We haven't decided the third yet. The third is actually a stat holiday, I think, and so we're just humming and hawing whether we might just call it quits for the third as well. I've got a son who is volunteering at Glenbrook Village Railway, and they're operating season all the way through. And I have, because he hasn't got his license yet, he's only on his learners, I'm able to get up early every single morning and ferry him out there because he's working virtually every day. So this morning, for example, we were on the road at 6:45 to get him out there. And then when he starts in the locomotive, you've got to be there at 6 a.m, but be there at 9 o'clock the night before. And so my Christmas New Year break so far has thus been staying sober so that I can get up first thing in the morning and ferry him and bring him back. So Yeah.
Are
But
you
I might
doing
have a
this
couple of cold
Are
ones.
you doing this fearing and some kind of interesting trade-in that, as you so often do?
Yes, I am. I've got the perfect car. I've got a Toyota Progress, which is the off-brand of the Toyota Brevis. So I've got an early 2000s Brevis with the 2.5 litre inline six-cylinder engine. Love the power of a six-cylinder engine. And it's all just old school Japanese black leather, heated seats, dual zone climate control. And here's a fun fact. This car's built in 2000 and it's got active cruise control. I never knew they even had active cruise control back in 2000, but it does, and it works, and it's got every other possible luxury. It owes me
Now,
bugger all. It's great.
is that radar based or laser based or because some of the
I don't know.
early Japanese ones had like basically laser based on it, so or infrared beam or whatever, so it showed a beam of light out the front. And the problem being with that, of course, is light goes in a straight line, so you'd go around a corner, and instantly you wouldn't see the car in front; it would accelerate off the corner.
No, this
No?
must be radar. That actually
Yeah.
MCC 1701 reincarnated. No, it genuinely works. It's a bit sketchy when you get up close to a car in front. It's a bit sketch, like it really wants to stop, and then you move out into the next lane and it really wants to go. So it's kind of not particularly progressive. But yeah, there's a summer cruiser. It's great. Rear-wheel drive, six-cylinder, silky smooth leather goodness. I practically can smoke cigars in it.
Graham McDonald, no longer Ranger Man, now Brevis Man.
Now, well, the Ranger's for sale, so I can't use that. I've got the Ranger on the yard for sale, so I've got to use the Brevis instead. But let's face it, it's a stoogey old cruiser. When the price of road user charges right now, you'd want to use the Ranger, right?
Well, exactly. I mean, like you people know I love EVs, and I've got a BYD here that we're buying, and we've got an MG ZS EV here that we've got on a long-term loan. But I went and grabbed this year, as you know, journos do. We can work with our friends to have a good car over Christmas.
Yep.
Every year, I pretty much try and grab the same car, and that is the Ford Transit Custom Tornado. It is the ultimate summer vehicle. Black tinted windows, 8 seats, a conference in the back, so three seats each facing each other, 3 seats in the front. Remote control, so you can turn it on and start the engine to cool the car down before you get there. Mm-hmm. I'll pull up the Ford app. And it is just, particularly when you've got friends coming like we do, we live at the beach, the greatest summer car you can have. And you could offer me a Ferrari for the summer break, but if there was a Tornado going, I'd still grab one. So I can go and push the button there and start that up. And
very nice.
Cool the car down before going and jumping in it. So
do Ford mind if it comes back with surfboard marks and sand all through the gaps?
I'll do my best to clean it up after. It actually has fold up roof racks, built-in fold up roof racks. How handy is that?
That's cool. I like that idea. If I had
and they drive well,
I'd use it for that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's the summer car this year. We've got friends here. We're just chilling out. We'll have a beer or two. I think we're might take some kids off to the water park today, and then probably go see some alpacas in a couple of days, and blah blah blah. It's going to be fun. But look,
nice.
Thank you so much for joining us, Graham. Thank you everyone who's listening or watching, depending on where you're getting this from. It's been a great year. We'll be back next week, and maybe we'll do our predictions for the year. Maybe we'll make that next one entirely stupid.
We'll work on that one. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm around next week, and the following week might be from a road trip coming near you somewhere. So I'm going to work next week, and then it'll be from destinations unknown.
Awesome. Right. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to roll this thing for the last time for 2022.